Whether you're new to cruising or an experienced cruiser, I've got the list of common cruise mistakes coming up next. Hey everyone, it's Patrick from Oakland Travel, and today I want to talk about cruise mistakes. My wife and I have been cruising with Royal Caribbean for the last 16 years, and if not for some of the cruises canceled by COVID, we would be diamond status and crown and anchor by now. Over the many cruises, we've discovered the joy of cruising, but also learned quite a few things along the way. This is my personal list of common cruise mistakes, mostly in order of importance. Now, some of these we've made ourselves at least once. Some have come from friends and family who also cruised, primarily with Royal Caribbean, but most of these are universal to the cruise experience. Number one is flying in the day your cruise starts. As a general rule, this is not a good idea. If your flight is delayed for any reason, and you're not able to make it to the ship on time, they will leave you behind. The onboard time for embarkation is usually mid-afternoon, and if you're flying from the west coast to the east coast, your schedule might already be tight even if your flight departs on time. For my Alaska cruise in 2019, we flew in the morning before. We made an afternoon of it in Seattle before getting up the next morning and casually making our way over to the cruise terminal. It would have been possible to fly in the morning the cruise departed Seattle, but it would have been incredibly tight on the schedule, and we would have had to have left Orlando very early in the morning, even with the 3 hours back for the time change. So it would not really have made much sense to try to do it that way. So if you have to fly to the embarkation port, you really need to do it the day before the cruise to make sure that you don't miss your cruise, because you just can't take a chance that your flight might be delayed. Number two is overpacking. This is a very, very common cruise mistake, and it's something that happens very easily on your first few cruises. It takes experience to understand what you will and will not need on a cruise. And here's a pro tip for you. Breathable clothing can prevent frequent trips to the stateroom to change during the course of the day on the ship, especially if you're frequently transitioning from an indoor to an outdoor setting. An example of this, and something I do a lot on ships, would be walking around on the upper deck of the ship for a while during the blazing sun and then coming inside to cool off in the air conditioning. That can be a pretty big swing in temperatures, and you want something to wear that will help out as much as possible. Another consideration for packing is that you need to leave room for souvenirs purchased on the ship during the cruise or in port. For me, I'm always on the hunt for a new t-shirt, and luckily those are easy to press into my suitcase towards the end of the trip. But what happens if you run across some item you want to buy in a local store while you're in port? How will you get it home? Is it fragile? Etc. So if you have a tendency to go shopping, you need to keep that in mind as you're packing for your cruise. One last pro tip, and this is a big one because it really helps. Plan to rewear certain items. It's a cruise. It doesn't really matter if you wear the same pair of shorts more than once, does it? Number three is gratuities. Think of the automatic gratuities charged by the cruise lines as the bare minimum. The majority of most crew members' salaries come from these gratuities, so if a crew member stands out for service, consider tipping them a little extra. This is especially true for crew members you see the most, such as the stateroom attendant, waiters in the restaurant, etc. It helps to keep in mind that these crew members work months at a time on a contract and they don't get a day off. They're 7 days a week. One other thing to consider here, and this is not something that I've done to this point in all of the cruises I've been on, but I've heard others say that they sometimes tip their cabin stateroom attendant at the beginning of the cruise with the hope that this can lead to better service during the cruise because you've started off on a high note. Number four, skip the buffet line for dinner. Most cruise ships have more than just the traditional buffet line. Some cruises tout Michelin star chefs, while other lines have celebrity chefs behind their menus. Not taking anything away from the cruise buffet, but dinner in the main dining room usually serves better food and provides a more traditional dining experience with several courses. Your dinner in the main dining room is included in the cost of your cruise, and you're likely to see items on the menu that you don't normally get a chance to experience. So as an example, even if you don't like escargot or something similar, order it one time and see if you like it. Another tip here regarding dinner is don't hesitate to order more than one thing at dinner. On a typical cruise in the main dining room, you're served a 3-course dinner, which is an appetizer, main entree, and dessert. But passengers can order as many entrees and dishes as they like. If you ask for it, they will bring it to you. The menu usually rotates during the cruise, so you're not likely to see the same dish later in the week, so if you see something you might want, give it a try. Specialty restaurants are another option to avoid the buffet for dinner. They charge a nominal fee per person to the onboard account, but the experience is worth it. These specialty restaurants on cruise ships are on par with high-end restaurants back on land, so why not treat your party to the experience at least once during the cruise? Keep in mind that you can usually book these pre-cruise to lock in a date and time and reduce the amount charged to your onboard account during the cruise. Number 5 is cash. Another common mistake is forgetting to bring cash and small bills with you on the cruise. This can be especially useful for shore excursions. In 2017 on the Oasis of the Seas, we were doing a helmet dive excursion in Cozumel, and we forgot to bring any cash with us. It was all locked up in the safe back on the ship. Thankfully, we had our credit cards and we were able to get by. Speaking of cash for water-based excursions, consider a waterproof holder for cash. Another option to consider here is whether you're on the ship, docked at a port, or on a shore excursion, there are dozens of opportunities to tip, especially as you near the end of the cruise. It's also smart to bring small bills so you don't have to search for change when tipping your cab driver or your bartender. The casino can usually make change for larger bills if needed, and ATMs are also usually available on the ship just in case you need them. It's been a while, but I think I remember going to the casino years ago and getting cash to gamble with, and they charged it to my onboard account. So I'm not sure if that still works, but that was actually pretty cool back then when I tried it. Number 6 is the passport. When you go ashore for a port stop, be sure to bring a photocopy of your passport and leave the original passport locked in the safe in your stateroom. Once you leave that ship and you're out in a foreign country, that passport can be your lifeline. Number 7 is shore excursions not booked through the cruise line. These can sometimes save you money, but if you're late getting back to the ship, they will leave you. By booking on your own and not through the cruise line, you run the risk of booking with a local company that could be unsafe or poorly reviewed if you haven't done your research. These cruise lines vet the local tour operators so you can feel comfortable that they will use reputable companies. If you're on an excursion booked through the cruise line, they have to wait for you if the excursion is late getting back to the ship. Number 8 is getting seasick. This one is most likely for new cruisers, but it is possible that you might get seasick. Ships can move quite a bit in rough seas, and even though the cruise lines do their best to avoid it, you might feel the ship moving from time to time depending on the weather. If you've never experienced this before, you can't be sure how your body will react. This might negatively affect you, so pack Dramamine or some other type of motion sickness medicine. Number 9 is pace yourself. You can't see and do everything on a cruise, so you have to pick and choose. First-time cruisers might feel like they need to go to every show, swim in every pool, drink at every bar, and squeeze as much as they possibly can into their vacation, but end up exhausted at the end of the cruise. It's your vacation and there is no rule book, so do as much or as little as you want to. Number 10 is expenses during the cruise. It's a good idea to budget for unforeseen expenses to your onboard account, something that I do every single time. I'm usually actually pretty conservative whenever we put one of our budgets together for an upcoming cruise. Some examples of items that might hit your onboard account during the cruise would be gratuities if you didn't prepay them. This is something I never do. I just count on them hitting my onboard account. Spa services, alcohol if you're not on a drink package, purchases in the shops on the ship, spur-of-the-moment decision regarding the casino or specialty dining, and that photo package at the end of the cruise. Number 11 is formal nights. Most cruise lines have some type of formal night, usually 2 on a 7-night cruise. This is one of those occasions where you can dress to the nines if you so choose. Also, men have the option of renting a tuxedo through the cruise line. At least Royal Caribbean does this that I know of. It's about $100 on average, and it's good for the entire cruise with enough clothes to dress for both formal nights. This is the 2 on a 7-night cruise. Also, depending on the ship, the range of formal wear can vary greatly, so do your research ahead of time. For example, nicer shorts would work for a Carnival Cruise Line's formal night, but they would definitely not work for a Royal Caribbean cruise formal night. While you're doing your research, be sure to check how many formal nights are on the cruise so you'll know exactly what to pack. Number 12 is power strips. I found out firsthand in 2017 that cruise lines don't like power strips. If you must bring one, make it small and bring it with you in your carry-on bag. You'll also want to be mindful of what you use it for. For me, I charge up my small camera batteries, and those chargers don't pull too much electricity. Number 13 is cell phone roaming. I've heard a story from friends years ago when they went on a cruise. They left their phone turned on and did not put it in airplane mode. Their phone connected to the cell network of the ship, and they were hit with a huge roaming bill afterwards. This has never happened to me personally, and I'm not sure if it's still a potential issue. But to be safe, put that phone in airplane mode as soon as you're on the ship. Number 14 is dining reservations pre-cruise. This one may or may not be a mistake depending on your situation. If you know you're likely to eat at one of the specialty restaurants during the cruise and can afford to prepay for the reservation before the cruise, it might save you money by locking in that reservation, and the cruise line may offer sale prices for dining reservations leading up to the cruise. Number 15 is not reading the cruise planner every day. In years past, pre-COVID, the stateroom attendant on Royal Caribbean cruises would always leave the cruise compass for the following day when he or she was getting the stateroom ready in the evening. The cruise compass for Royal Caribbean is always a great way to see everything coming up for the following day so you can plan your day accordingly. And the last one, number 16, is constantly eating or drinking. This one might seem strange at first, but on a cruise vacation, you're suddenly surrounded by 2 things for the duration of your cruise: food and alcohol. For most people, eating 3 large meals every day or consuming alcohol all day long every day is not the norm, so you need to pace yourself during the cruise. The experienced cruisers are used to the non-stop availability of both food and drink and have figured out, sometimes the hard way, how best to enjoy what the cruise has to offer. One side note here regards the alcoholic drink packages. As the cost of the drink packages increases seemingly every year, it might make you feel like you have to consume X number of drinks per day to get the value out of the package, but depending on your age and your ability to hold your liquor, this can ruin your vacation. And that's my list of common cruise mistakes. If you found this helpful, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing and change that alert notification so that you're alerted every time I put up a new video or I start a new live stream.